What's going on, everybody? You have Tone here, bringing you guys my team builder and battle for week 9 of season 2 of the PCL, where this week we are taking on the New Jersey Brobats, coached by Root. His links will be in the link description down below. Be sure to check out his side of the match, and be sure to check out all the coaches in the PCL, as well as a link to the PCL Discord where you can chat with myself and the rest of the coaches. So, you guys missed our last week's game. We took on Lux and his Dronage and Gallade in a division rematch. Didn't come out on top in that one. We unfortunately lost that game 3-0. So we are now 5-3, looking to rebound and at least guarantee ourselves a 500 record for the season and try to solidify a playoff spot, if anything, in heading into these last 4 weeks of the season. So, like I said, we're taking on Root and his New Jersey Brobats, and his team consists of the Tornadus, Como-O, Crocodile, Tentacruel, Electros, Pyroar, Magearna, Zygarde 10%, Exploud, Celebi, and Mega Manectric, with his Z users being the Como-O and the Pyroar. So, right away, first thing you notice, he has a Magearna, and this is the first time I've ever played a Magearna in Draft League format. This is extremely new to me, considering this is like some Ubers are allowed, or Mons that weren't normally allowed in Draft League format, Magearna being one of those Pokemon. And not gonna lie, it's kind of scary facing Magearna, even though I feel like I have a good response to Magearna being my H-Slash. I do feel as though Magearna can be a serious threat, though, if I let it get a kill or two. And not to mention, he does have a very good team outside of the Magearna with Volturn Core, with Tornadus plus Mega Manectric, and he has ways of pressuring my H-Slash, which is not good for trying to preserve my main switching to the Magearna, being stuff like Heat Wave on Torn, Flamethrower, Mega Manectric, Crocodile, which I feel like it will 100% come just to make sure he has a response to H-Slash, potentially as a Pursuit Trapper or something along those lines. So, I'm not gonna lie, this feels like a very uphill battle for me, but I do feel as though I made the best team possible for this matchup. And just to kick things off here, as jumping right into the team builder, I do have my Mega Gallade with Bulk Up, Drain Punch, Zen Headbutt, and Fire Punch. This is my win con for this game. As you look at his entire team, you look at my Mega Gallade, he has no solid switch-ins to the combination of Drain Punch, Zen Headbutt, and Fire Punch. His only real check, quote-unquote, is the Torn, which can pressure me with Hurricane. Zygarde can pressure me if I don't have a bulk up, if I don't have a bulk up, and proceed to go for Banded Out Narrows or Banded Outrage. One of those two can be a very, very big nuisance. I don't kill Magearna from full with my attack investment. I do roughly over half if he doesn't have any bulk. I don't expect it to be a max HP Magearna or something close to that, but I still have the ability to potentially 2-KO Magearna after a bulk up with Fire Punch. The same goes for the Celebi, and then Drain Punch plus Zen Headbutt hits everything else on his team neutrally. So this is a fantastic win con. Mega Gallade looks like it's going to be putting in a ton of work in this matchup. So EV spread, nothing much else to say, just near max HP with enough speed to guarantee outspeed the Pyroar, and the rest I just threw into attack. To help out my Mega Gallade here, we have some support, and that first support comes in Toxic Spikes from my Expert Bell Nihilego, and as you see, it's not even speed boosting this time, so hooray for that. I felt like I needed the added breaking power from the special attack boost to get some more chip off on stuff like Magearna and stuff like Tentacruel and all that stuff. Toxic Spikes just does a fantastic amount of work in this matchup, just because of the fact that his ground and poison type is Tentacruel, which gets 2-KO'd by Thunderbolt. I have Grass Knot for the Crocodile, and Sludge Wave just for general stab to hit stuff like Celebi. Hits pretty much his entire team neutrally. I have a way of hitting everything neutrally, quote unquote. Obviously, he's not going to go hard Zygarde on this thing, but Nonetheless, this is a very, very solid mon. I outspeed a good majority of his team. I can check Pyroar. I can even take an HP ground from Specs, if I recall correctly. Pyroar with even without any investment or from full, so that's pretty cool. I can take any hit from the Torn unless he's like Life Orb Iron Tail, then that completely destroys me. But other than that, Toxic Spikes, like I said, is just going to be very, very nice for pressuring his setup mons, his Como-O, so it can't freely like Dragon Dance or Sub or whatnot. I get to chip down his Magnetric, any of his grounded Pokemon, obviously not named Magearna and Tentacruel, I can whittle down very, very nicely, and the Electros. So, nonetheless, that is my Nihilego set, just enough speed to outspeed Celebi. I originally wasn't even going to outspeed Celebi, but if he does bring like a setup Celebi with like Earth Power or Side Shock, I don't want to be slower than that and then get blown back for no reason, so yeah, didn't want to risk that. Then next up, Special Defensive Aegislash, my dedicated switch into the Magearna, King Shield, Shadow Claw, Sacred Sword, Shadow Sneak. King Shield is nice, complementing Toxic Spikes, getting that little extra chip damage on his Pokemon. Shadow Claw plus Sacred Sword hits his entire team neutrally. I have a way of hitting the Crocodile on the switch in, and then Shadow Sneak is there for priority. Nothing much else to say about this set, just like I said, my dedicated response to the Magearna. I can take 2 Shadow Balls from Magearna after rocks with my max special defense investment, and I'm 0 IVs in speed with Assassin Nature to ensure that if he does bring the Trick Room Magearna, I outslow that and I can hit him with a nice and strong Shadow Claw. The next up is my Seismitoad with leftovers, Stealth Rock, Earthquake, Ice Punch, and Knockoff. This pretty much is my means of checking stuff like Zygarde. I check Crocodile, a good majority of his team with this set here. It's just designed to get up rocks and chip away at his team with a combination of Earthquake and Ice Punch. Knockoff is nice for getting rid of items, getting rid of stuff like lefties on a potential defensive Celebi. Scouting for Z-move on either the Como or the Pyroar. I can knock off potential leftovers on the Magearna since it can't run a Z-move. And yeah, pretty much nothing much else to say about Seismitoad. Just a nice bulky pivot. Get up rocks and chip things down with Ice Punch and Earthquake and get rid of items on knockoff. The investment's enough to take 2 banded 1,000 arrows from Zygarde 10%. After Stealth Rock, and the rest I just threw into Special Defense to better check stuff like the Mega Magnetric. So, moving on, we have our Trick Room, Lifelure Ranunculus, with Side Shock, Signal Beam, and HP Fire. Again, this is also another mon that really does well from a matchup standpoint, considering his Psychic Resist is basically the Crocodile, the Celebi, and the Magearna, and Signal Beam plus HP Fire deals with all 3 of those Pokemon. Just puts in a ton of pressure against his team, really counteracts his potential boosting natures with stuff like Dragon Dance Como-O, Dragon Dance Zygarde. I outslow Torn T, I outslow Mega Magnetric. With Trick Room up, I can really pressure, if he brings like an Assault Vest Torn T, I can pressure that with a Life Orb, Size Shock. Do a tremendous amount of damage that way. Signal Beam I already mentioned for the Crocodile and the Celebi. HP Fire lets me chip down the Magearna, putting it closer and closer to range of my Mega Galate's Fire Punch. So, again, nothing much else to say about this. It's a very straightforward Trick Room set. And then lastly, I have Choice Scarf Hydreigon with Draco Meteor, Dark Pulse, U-Turn, Fire Blast. This is pretty much my catch-all check to a boosted Como-O and Shift Gear Magearna, as my Hydreigon outspeeds both of those things. I can Draco Meteor and Fire Blast both of them respectively. Dark Pulse is just nice and spammable if I'm able to chip down and weaken the Crocodile. I already have Draco for the Como-O. U-Turn is just nice for momentum, all that jazz. So, that's pretty much going to be it for the team builder. Nothing much else to say about that. I may feel as though I over prep for Magearna, but one can never be too careful about these sorts of things. So yeah, with all that being said, let's just switch right over to the battle and see how we did. Alright guys, so here we are with the battle against Gus and his New Jersey Brobats, and the first thing I am noticing is, well, there's a couple of Pokemon that I expected him to bring, but he did not bring. More specifically, he did not bring Torn, he did not bring Mega Magnetric, and he did not bring Celebi. The three of the Pokemon I was expecting him to bring. He did bring the Magearna as expected, he did bring the Crocodile, and I was expecting either the Kommo or the Zygarde to come as the dragon in this case, but he really surprised me here. I wasn't expecting him to bring Pyroar. That completely threw me off. I felt like the combination of my offense had enough to pressure Pyroar, and I had a Nihilego, which Pyroar cannot break through normally. But I guess he felt as though that his team dealt with Nihilego well enough to the point where he felt comfortable bringing the Pyroar, so I can respect that. But not seeing a Torn really surprised me. Not seeing Mega Magnetric, I felt like his team had ways of weakening my Seismitoad enough to the point where he could freely Volt Switch on everything on my team, like fairly free. But the really nice thing about this matchup, now that I look at the team preview here, as he brings the Tentacruel, Magearna, Zygarde 10, Pyroar, Crocodile, and the Kommo, is, well, this is probably the first time I've ever played a game where Seismitoad is the best matchup against essentially everything, quote unquote. Obviously, HP Grass Pyroar is still a thing. It can blow me back, obviously. HP Grass Tentacruel could also be a thing, but just looking at it, I felt no reason not to lead over my Seismitoad here, because of the team he brought, I literally could Earthquake half his team and Ice Punch the other half, which is just ridiculous. Like, I really thought he would bring Celebi to counteract my Seismitoad, but not seeing it just completely blew me away here. But nonetheless, though, I'm not going to bash on my opponent for what he decided to bring there. That's my own personal opinion. So let's just get right into the matchup. But as I said, I am going to lead over my Seismitoad. It is the safest lead in this game, just because, as I mentioned, I essentially can either Earthquake or get on my rocks essentially free against anything. There's no two ways about it. So he's going to lead off with Tentacruel as I lead off with my Seismitoad here. And as I said, I have the option of either Earthquake or getting on my rocks here, as he goes for Toxic Spikes of turn 1 here. Really surprising here, as I just decided to get on my rocks here. I really didn't think he would try to risk me going for Earthquake here, get some damage off on his Tentacruel. But he's going to make the switch out and go out into his Crocodile here, as I am now going to go and fire off an Earthquake, because it doesn't really matter what he sends out, because he didn't bring Torn. Earthquake is essentially free on my end. I get some damage off on this thing, and now that I have my rocks up, as he reveals his leftovers on his Crocodile, I'm expecting this to probably be something along the lines of his response to not just my Aegislash, but this also does check my Nihilego pretty well as well. So now I'm going to go fire off an Ice Punch here. He gets up his rocks, which are totally fine by me. I really wasn't expecting him to go for Toxic Spikes here, because I have a Nihilego. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to stand and just like whittle down this Crocodile, because this is one of his ways, his responses for Nihilego later on in the game. Like, I know he has a Magearna and everything, but I'm not really fearing the Crocodile as much as I'm fearing the Magearna here, as I'm going to Ice Punch here, just keep chipping this thing down. And I'm essentially just trying to sack off Seismitoad here, so trying to get off some damage with Earthquake and Ice Punch here. He goes for Ice Punch on this turn. I don't knock it out. I do get the freeze, though, which sucks, because he's going to remain frozen, and I'm actually going to get the first kill of the game because of the Ice Punch freeze. I was essentially just sacking off my Seismitoad there, because I essentially was going to go out into my Nihilego afterwards, absorb the Toxic Spikes, and then kill it off with a Grass Knot or whatnot. But now you get on to his Zygarde, he gets a 3,000 arrows here. I have no reason not to just switch out and sack this Seismitoad, because Seismitoad already did its job. Like, it got up rocks and essentially got rid of the Crocodile. So now I go into my Ridiculous here. I get Poison Wind, doesn't matter because I'm Magic Guard. So now I'm going to go for a Trick Room. He goes for another Bandit 1,000 arrows. Like, I just feel like it's Bandit. I did too much damage to be, to not be Choice Bandit. So I'm going to fire off a Trick Room here. As he's going to withdraw his Zygarde now, and he goes out into his Magearna, which is fantastic, because now I'm going to go for Side Shock here, get some chip on this Magearna as he reveals leftovers, which is fine, because now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fire off an HP Fire here. I'm not going to try to mess around with this thing. I need this thing whittled down in range of my Gallade's Fire Punch. He's going to actually go for Calm Mind here. Probably didn't expect me to have HP Fire, or he probably figured that it can live any one hit or whatnot. So I'm going to fire on the HP Fire here, as I am going to not knock out the Magearna because of the Calm Mind boost. So he's going to go for a Dazzling Gleam and knock out my Ranunculus, which is fine. He does get the Soul Heart boost, but because Trick Room is still up, I'm actually now going to go out into my Aegislash here, and I'm just going to revenge kill him with a Sacred Sword here, because Trick Room is up and I am slower than this Magearna in Trick Room, so I go first, knock this thing out with a Sacred Sword. So Magearna, the threat is gone, and just looking at what he has left, Mega Gallade is just looking like it's going to do a fantastic job in the late game. So back out comes the Zygarde here. Essentially, I'm now going to just go for Shadow Sneak here. I didn't calc it. I just wanted to get damage off on this thing, and he goes for 1,000 arrows and knocked out my Aegislash. Aegislash, its only job was to deal with Magearna. Magearna's gone, so Aegislash's purpose was gone too. So I decided to sack it off here. It actually did live. Bandit 1,000 arrows if I went for a King's Shield and then Iron Headed, but in any case, he is going to. I'm now going to go out to my Hydreigon as he goes out into his Tentacruel on my Dark Pulse, because like I felt like Dark Pulse was an essentially free play, because even if he went out into Como, I had Gallade in the back. So now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to switch out into my Nihilego here to absorb the Toxic Spikes, as he's going to go for a Rapid Dazzling Gleam. Excuse me. So he goes to Dazzling Gleam, does nothing. And here, I believe, is where he goes to go for the Rapid Spin. But I'm just going to fire off a T-Ball here. I really don't think he would go hard Zygarde on my Nihilego here. So he's just going to go for the Rapid Spin, get rid of my Stealth Rock, which is fine. Rocks, at this point, wasn't really only that important for the Pyroar. So I'm going to fire another Thunderbolt and just knock this Tentacruel out. And, so Tentacruel's down. But unfortunately, because I am not speed boosted nature, I can't revenge kill the Zygarde. So free switching the Zygarde, and essentially it's another sack for me, as I'm forced to sack up my Nihilego here to the 1,000 arrows. Perfectly fine though, because I now get a free switch in to my Mega Gallade, without having to worry about any poison from Toxic Spikes. So now I'm just going to Mega Evolve here, as he's actually going to switch out and go out into his Como. And I was totally fine with that play, because what this means is I can, because Drain Punch in the Zen Headbutt did not knock out Como from full. I needed damage on Como to ensure that would happen. So this Drain Punch recovery, this Drain Punch damage is all the damage I need to put it in range of Zen Headbutt. As long as I connect, luckily we do. So this Como is now dead. And all he has left now is the Zygarde and the Pyroar. Out comes the Zygarde here. I figured he made that place where he's just going to knock us off with the Outrage, thinking he's going to kill me, but unfortunately I am bulky Gallade. I fire off a Drain Punch. We knock out the Zygarde 10%, and all he has left now is the Pyroar. If he's Scarfed, it's fine. I still have Hydreigon at full, and I'm just going to go for a Drain Punch here as he reveals he's not Scarfed, We Drain Punch the Pyroar, knock it out, and the Euro Miami Malamarlins are going to pick up a 2-0 win over the New Jersey Brobats and Coach Root. That was a really, really fast-paced, really fun game. The only real thing I could say is it kind of sucked at the beginning, with me freezing the Crocodile with my Seismitoad's Ice Punch, because I was essentially just sacking it off there. I don't really know how much it would have mattered. Like, it only would have mattered in terms of like the order of the kill for the most part, because essentially if he killed my Seismitoad first with Crocodile, I still had a Nihilego. I would have gotten rid of Toxic Spikes a lot faster. Obviously with my Nihilego I would have just gone out into that and clicked Grass Knot, but other than that, though, everything else was kind of straightforward, to the point, very fast-paced, very offensive, to the point. But as I expected, Mega Glade put in a ton of work in this game, picked up the last 3 kills. Wasn't able to get up a bulk up like I wanted to originally in my game plan, but regardless, we do take the win. GG to Root, the really, really fun game. Again, his link will be in the description. Be sure to check out his side of the battle. And essentially, we are roughly 1 win away from clinching a playoff spot for this season of the PCL. We'll see. Let's see if we'll be able to do it next week, as we take on the commissioner of the PCL himself in Austin, aka Garchomp the God, and his Lawrence Talonflame. So, like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed, and until the next time, this is Tone, signing out for now. Peace out.